Hi, everyone, and welcome to Seirim Cybersecurity Daily Report. Today, we're going to talk about two news. The first one, Taiwan bullet train highlights cybersecurity gaps in rail systems. And the second news, the Canvas hack is a new kind of ransomware debacle. Hi, Steven. How are you today?
Doing great, thank you. Happy to be here.
That's great. Okay, let's talk about the Taiwan incident. A recent incident in Taiwan exposed serious cybersecurity gaps in rail communication systems. A 23-year-old train enthusiast used software defined radio equipment and hardware bought online to spoof a general alarm signal to Taiwan High Speed Rail's Operation Center. That triggered emergency braking orders for three nearby bullet trains and caused a 48-minute service delay. This is crazy. The system reportedly used TETRA, a radio protocol widely used in rail emergency response, police, military, and industrial environments. TETRA can be secure when configured and maintained properly, but weak deployment, poor authentication, bad key management, or insecure terminal controls can leave it exposed. The Taiwan case follows earlier rail disruption incidents, including Poland in 2023, where attackers used simple radio tones to stop trains. Taiwan's incident may have required more knowledge of the operating environment than Poland's analog signal abuse. The broader issue is that rail systems have large distributed attack surfaces, a legacy infrastructure and remote communications points that are difficult to secure. While many recent disruptions appear to come from hobbyists or enthusiasts rather than advanced threat actors, more sophisticated attacks against transportation networks could create more operational and economic disruption. Have you
This
heard
is
about
wild.
this news, Steven? This is crazy.
Yeah,
So, what do you think about
and it
it?
could have been a lot more dramatic too. Luckily, it was just they braked and nothing catastrophic happened. But when you're dealing with high-speed trains, man, this could have been totally catastrophic if it had been worse. And it could become worse. I mean, if you think about how reliant all of our economies are on trains, if anyone can
Yes.
affect them and control them, the impacts could be huge. So a major thing here is that they have to rely on radio, right? Because the geography is so spread out for the train system that they have to communicate over such a long distance, right? So the first thought I have is, could they use cell phone, mobile phone connections? But if those go down, that's another vulnerability. The big thing here that I took away was that this guy, his name is Lin, he received the radio code on his own home collection of amateur radio equipment. He decoded the encryption himself and then re-encoded the braking signals and sent those out via his own amateur radios. So if the encryption wasn't that strong that he could do that, they definitely have to up their game as far as the depth and the sophistication of their authentication, the key rotation, terminal controls, behavioral analytics and anomaly detection, and more to make their encryption and their communications much more secure. I will say there were experts here at Seirim on this narrow type of security because it is unique to use radio over such a long distance. I have to think, though, that they can add stronger encryption. I don't know. It seems important to do so. Another interesting thing I found researching this is that these flaws in TETRA had been found years ago, too, when they were studying those Poland attacks, and that there's a lot of insecurity based on the keys that are on the chips for these radios, like in the Motorola radios. So they have to be checked and approved. So if you're using any kind of system similar to this, the older the system, it might use legacy encryption. You would need to upgrade it. A lot to keep in mind there.
Yeah,
Back over to
that's for
you on that
sure.
point. Mm.
Yeah. Thank you for your takeaway about this incident. Let's jump into the second news. Thousands of schools across the United States were disrupted after Instructure placed its Canvas learning platform into maintenance mode following a breach and extortion attempt by hackers using the ShinyHunters name. The attackers had reportedly been trying to pressure Instructure since May 1st, but the situation became highly visible when Canvas downtime hit schools during finals and end of year assignments. Affected institutions included universities such as Harvard, Columbia, Rutgers, and Georgetown, along with school districts in at least a dozen states. The hackers claimed more than 8,800 schools were affected, though the exact scale remains unclear. Exposed data for affected users included names, email addresses, student ID numbers, and messages exchanged on the platform. The incident escalated when some school Canvas portal were reportedly defaced, with attackers injecting messages into login pages and urging schools to negotiate before a May 12th deadline. The ShinyHunters name has been tied to major data extortion activity, but attribution is murky because different groups reuse well-known cybercrime names. The disruption stands out because a single education platform outage created operational chaos across many institutions at once, turning a data extortion incident into a nationwide education technology crisis.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
pretty dramatic. And it wasn't just nationwide either, it was worldwide. In fact, it's considered the largest educational security breach on record due to its unprecedented global scale, with those 8,800 universities and educational ministries affected. Incredible. So at the outset, I don't have too many takeaways because it's a standard ransomware attack, or basically a leak attack. Sorry, not ransomware, it's a data extortion leak. And it's not clear how much data they actually got. The hackers claim they got 3.65 terabytes of data from approximately
That's a
275
lot.
million users, if they're to be believed, right?
That's a huge
And how they
breach.
did
Yeah.
it, they used the platform's own data export features, right? There hasn't been a lot of information revealed by Instructure and Canvas yet as to the nature of the hack. So I think we got to follow up on this later, because if they were able to export, I don't want to say all, but that much data and have it go unnoticed, or I don't even know how they could not have observed this and stopped it during the process, but that's just terrible. So the takeaway for all of us is, one, if you're a student or no students, note that their information might be out there on the web, the email addresses and student ID numbers. Maybe that's limited, the sensitivity level, but it's not nothing. And then also it's a reminder of me, because we're making a similar sort of course related to this, but to not trust communications from any or on all platforms, right? So this platform allows students and teachers to talk with each other, right? Send messages back and
Yeah.
forth and whatnot. If you're using any platform like that, don't just believe that it is your teacher necessarily chatting with you or your student chatting with, in that form, because it might have been breached. So those are
That's
my
for sure.
takeaways on that one. Oh, another one. I'll mention one more thing too. The universities here, they really offload a lot of their what they could consider be responsible for communication between students and teachers, for example, and the platforming of all their assignments and coursework and all that. That's a huge load that the university is outsourcing to a third party. So when you're doing that, you kind of have a responsibility too to make sure that they are having good cybersecurity. So should these universities be, pushing Instructure and Canvas to up their game with the security? I think so. I would not be happy if I was a university now and this happened to my students. And so you're kind of putting a lot of eggs in one basket by trusting their service to this extent. So if you find
That's for
yourself in a
sure.
similar scenario, when you've outsourced so much of your critical infrastructure to someone else, you got to make sure the due diligence is done on their services. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. So educational institutions are very sensitive section, and somehow they don't put too much effort on cybersecurity. We send our kids to educational institutions and we believe and trust in them, so they will protect our children's data. So in this case, this news put me into shock, because this is terrible. I mean, cybersecurity should be a priority for educational institutions as well.
Absolutely. Here at
Okay.
Seirim, we're building an educational course, and we got to double check on the platform. We're using a open source platform called Moodle, so we got to double check on its security as well, don't we?
That's for sure. Yeah. Thank you very much for your takeaways, Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.